up, Ralphie! So now, in the spirit of the original,
Me to you. Stop.
traditional, American Christmas,
Thanks a lot.
MGM presents A Christmas Story.
Hey guys, I'm Kevin,
I'm Jake.
and this is Movie Matters. Today we're talking about A Christmas Story from 1983. I've never seen this movie until now, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's very surprising.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. I never saw it. And I know it like always plays on TV, especially around this time of the year, too.
Yeah, it's actually pretty hard to avoid it.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed it, but yeah, I never saw it. And so this was my first viewing. I think it's kind of one of those times where if I would have seen it as a kid, I definitely would have enjoyed it more, I feel like. I liked it. Didn't love it, but I liked it. It was entertaining. I just remember it ended, and I was like, wait, this is the end? That's it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how many times have you seen it? Because I'm sure it's a lot.
Oh, yeah. Me and my brothers, loved this movie growing up. So, we watched it a lot. And then, TBS plays it for 24 hours every Christmas, just on repeat. So it's usually on somewhere. But yeah, I've probably dozens of times I've watched it. So yeah, I know almost everything
Okay.
from memories.
Yeah. Did you rewatch it?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's entertaining, and I like how it's done. I like how it's shot. I think it's funny. I think it's cute. It really plays the child wanting a Christmas gift very well, and it's very relatable. Yeah, and I like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that this is I do appreciate it as an adult watching it, because it's nostalgic in a lot of ways. All of these antics were antics that me and my brothers got into, and you always want something that you're not gonna get, and it's the disappointment and that kind of stuff is always memorable. And then when you if you do get it, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Which is, in this case, he does end up getting his BB gun. It's it ends up shooting his eye out. Or almost shooting his eye out. But yeah, I mean, it's the family dynamic I think is hilarious. And especially his relationship with his friends is also, I think, really funny.
Yeah.
It's they just ditch each other constantly. Yeah. Throw each other to the wolves.
Yeah.
Which is kind of 10-year-old thing to do, I guess, or however old they are. But yeah, it's funny because when my wife and I met, she did not like this movie at all, and I couldn't understand why. And it kind of dawned on me this time watching it that this is very much a boys' Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Because there isn't really a female perspective in this at all.
No.
And it's very much about things that boys got into when they were kids. And the gun is very much a boy's toy, not, something relatable for girls.
Yeah.
And the bullying and stuff is not really relatable for girls. So I could understand why if she saw it as a girl, it's probably I don't understand any of this. None of this speaks to me,
I get that.
Right. She's come around on it. It's still not her favorite, but yeah, she likes it a bit more than she did the first time she saw it.
Yeah, it's definitely a boys' movie. The mom, though, I love that actress. She's the mom from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which is great. And then another 80s movie that I love, she's the mom in Harry and the Hendersons. Have you seen that movie, right?
Not all the way through.
Oh my god, that's on our list. We're definitely going to get to that one because that movie is so 80s and it's so awesome. This, speaking of this, kind of going back to the trailer, had voiceover, showed way too much of the movie, and was a little longer than I would like. But the movie itself is short. It's a brisk hour and 33-minute movie. Yep. And it's pretty funny because the studio, they cut some scenes because they wanted it to be a short hour and 30-minute movie so they could have more showings. And again, we've talked about that in a handful of our movies like Cobra, for example, where they just want to have more and more showings to make box office returns. This film was released just before Thanksgiving, and it became a surprise hit. And I mean, obviously since then it's still obviously in pop culture and everyone's lives. Like you said, they play it nonstop on TBS and other channels. By the time Christmas rolled around, because this movie came out just before Thanksgiving, by the time Christmas rolled around, the movie had already been pulled from most theaters because it had been played out. But after complaints were lodged at the theater owners in the studio, the film began playing on select theaters after the first of the year in 1984, which is pretty cool.
That's funny.
Definitely was a popular movie. Again, funny that I haven't seen it until this time, but I don't know. I'm not a big Christmas movie guy. I mean, A Christmas Vacation's fantastic. And our last movie one of our last movies we did, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's a great holiday movie. That's like the all-time holiday movie for me personally is Planes, Trains. But this movie is it was definitely a success. It's interesting for the director. I don't know if you know anything about him, Bob Clark. He did Porky's, which I've actually never seen, and that's another 80s movie that we need to watch. But he's done like a handful. Like he did a bunch of cool movies in the 70s and 80s, and then he did like really shitty movies in like the 90s. Like, for example, he did Baby Geniuses. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie as a kid, but like that movie's terrible. He did a TV movie called The Karate Dog. Like, it's very interesting how certain directors are, super well known in the 70s, 80s, and then they just go on to make not so well received films,
Yeah, I feel like there might have been like a cash grab in the 90s that like tanked careers. Where a lot of people just pick these like really dumb movies to like direct or produce or act in, and then like just destroyed their careers because they're terrible. But
have you seen Baby Geniuses?
Not since I was like 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that movie came out when we were 4.
Yeah.
It came out in like 96.
Yeah, I remember watching it.
Same.
But I don't recall thinking that it was like good when I saw it. So
that's funny. But his success for the movie Porky's allowed him to do this movie. And this movie, like, studios didn't really want to make this movie. They didn't think it'd be successful, which is pretty interesting.
Like on paper, it should be kind of like boring and dumb. But like the comedy is like pretty spot on in this. So like, and like, I already talked a lot about how relatable it is. So like, I think it has a lot of factors that like you don't usually get from like a holiday movie. 'Cause usually they're like either, at this time period anyway, it's something like Christmas Vacation that's like over the top, goofy, and like, like all hell breaking loose kind of movie. Or it's like an overly mushy kind of like thing that's like, a super feel good movie, and you don't really get like that like nice in between, which this movie is very much like a sweet spot of like comedy and like family, you know, like antics, but it's also a pretty like heartwarming, like family friendly kind of movie.
It is. It really is. Like the family dynamic's super, super well done in it. I mean, it's funny. The movie's about a kid who wants a BB gun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally the gist of it, which is hilarious.
Right.
And I mean, we played with airsoft guns as kids and stuff like that. We, you know, it's definitely relatable. The dad is great in it, and he doesn't even have a name. His name is he's titled and credited as the Old Man. Yeah, which is hilarious. Darren McGavin, that's his name in real life. And I was like, I've seen this actor before. What's he from? He's the dad in Billy Madison.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's where he's from. And I don't remember him in other movies, but like that's the main movie I was like, yes, that's where he's from. And I love all his like random sayings in this movie because he knew it was PG and he couldn't swear, so he says all like "Jeez, oh Pete's" and stuff like that. And like, you know, when he's fighting the furnace, he's just like speaking gibberish and not making any sense, like because he can't swear because it's a kids movie, and I thought that was hilarious.
But like it's also because you know that he's like it's almost like a censorship thing where like filtering it through like kids' ears almost, where like it's just a bunch of nonsense words that like they don't understand or actually swear words, but like it as an adult, you know, he's dropping like every word in the book and like, you know, just going off, you know. And it comes back later when he says fudge when he's helping his dad with the thing, and like you know what he actually says, because he gets in trouble for it. But
and I love that because he's like I said fudge. But he's like, I actually didn't say that. I said the other word. And I love that.
The best part is the mom's like, where did you hear that? And he's like, I've heard my dad say it like every day of my entire life, but I couldn't tell her that. That's again spot on.
Very relatable. Very relatable. That's I love that. It's so fun. It's so relatable. It's so good. A cool fact that I learned about Darren McGavin, him getting the role, originally Jack Nicholson was given the script and was very much interested in the role of the old man. But Clark didn't learn this until later, that the studio didn't want to pay Nicholson's fee because it would have doubled the budget, and the budget was already low. So, and Bob Clark even said like Darren McGavin was still the better choice and was born to play that role. It would have been definitely interesting to see Nicholson in this role.
This is like, I don't think he would have pulled it off correctly.
Agreed.
Especially after The Shining. Like not like, he's just not like a family
and like
person in my head.
Yeah, his eyebrows are too menacing. He looks too mean. The dad is like a sweetheart in this movie, honestly. Like, he's mad at everyone else, but like he keeps the love within the family, which I really like. That's the parents are really the best part of the movie, in my opinion. Yeah, like they really are just good parents, and you know, like the mom when Ralphie gets in the fight with what's his name, Scut, the bully. Yeah. And she like plays it off. She's like to the dad. She's like, "Oh yeah, he was in a fight." And the dad's like, "What?" And then she just like literally like changes the subject.
Yeah, covers for him.
Yeah, and I loved that. That was so like heartwarming and sweet. And then jumping ahead a bit, like, you know, the dad is the one that gets him the gun. Yeah. At the end, the BB gun. And it's funny because Ralphie never really tries to convince his dad to get the gun. He's always trying to convince his mom. And he asks for it apparently 28 times in the movie.
Yeah. I believe it.
Yeah. So, I love all the like daydream sequences. The daydream sequences are really relatable as well and really fun. Like where he's protecting the family with the gun and against like the robbers in like the typical like prisoner garb, like the black and white stripes, like they're robbers or like burglars. And apparently, Ralphie, Peter Billingsley, was given real chewing tobacco. Because he's like spitting in that. He's like spitting out fucking dip. And, and that was real. I read that. I was like, that's fucking insane. I'm like, in the 80s, like, I guess they could get away with whatever the fuck they wanted in the 80s.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, the not the flashbacks, the like fantasies are all awesome. I think my favorite though is the one where he's upset about the soap and he envisions that he goes blind from the soap and then his parents like regret giving him the soap and stuff, because it's so relatable. Like if you get punished as a kid, it's like, oh, I'll show them, like one day they'll be mad that they sent me to my room or whatever, you know. And, like, it's such a good like manifestation of that, like the like you know, pissed off like kid who's like having this like revenge fantasy or whatever. Like
and I feel like everyone as kids has gotten that thread of, oh, like you say bad words, I'll wash your mouth out with soap. And like tasting soap is horrible. Like
it's not good.
It's not good. Speaking of tasting, Flick tasted that pole, and that's the only thing I really knew about this movie. Is that scene about the tongue sticking to the pole, and then it just reminds me of Dumb and Dumber.
Oh yeah,
but that scene is obviously iconic, and I knew about it prior to seeing this movie, and I think that's probably one of the more iconic scenes of the movie. What would you say?
Yeah, that one for sure, and then the Santa Claus scene are probably like the two most iconic. With the Santa Claus being like ho 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 and like all creepy and stuff, and like the like shitty elves.
Like they're like literally physically abusing the kids, like grabbing their arm, like ripping them up the like whatever the hell that is, like a throne almost, and then there's like a slide that they're like Santa's literally kicking kids down.
Yeah. Well, that's the best part of that scene is when Ralphie stops himself and like crawls back up and like spits out the whole spiel about the rifle, and Santa's just like, "You'll shoot your eye out, kid," and just kicks him in the face down the slide.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's very good. I love like just child abuse and like giving, you know, again, 80s. Giving kids tobacco and kicking kids in the face. But this, you know, I think all the characters' names are ridiculous in this movie. Like the bully, what's the neighbors, like the Bumpuses or whatever.
The Bumpuses, yeah.
Yeah, like that's
and
great.
The dogs.
Yeah, I love that. Like the one part, like dude, they closed the door on a dog's ear. Like, there's some kind of brutal stuff in this movie. But I love when Ralphie finally like beats, you know, kind of stands up for himself and beats up the bully Scut, and he's like punching him and he calls him a bitch at one point. I was like,
but also in that scene, he does the same thing that his dad does, where he just says a bunch of gibberish that like you can't make out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that scene is pretty great. And the aftermath, like you already touched on how his mom kind of like covers for him with the dad. But like when she like gets him home, she's just like, you gotta relax, like, you know, like you don't need to be all worked up. And then his brother's like hiding under the sink. He's like, Dad's gonna kill Ralphie.
Yeah, his brother's adorable, by the way. His brother's super adorable, and like how Ralphie's like, yeah, my brother hasn't eaten a solid meal in like forever,
3 years or something.
Yeah, and then the mom gets him to eat by telling him he's a pig. And like his laugh after he's like eating, like he like takes a bite and then eats and snorts and then laughs, and it's like hilarious. So
Yeah, we definitely, not particularly me, but my younger brothers would switch off on being the one that like refused to eat. And it was always like a struggle like that to
Interesting.
get them to eat food. It's just like, I don't know if it's like a boy thing or what, but like,
Huh.
yeah, it seems to be something that's fairly common with like young boys in particular, I think.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear the girl perspective on that. And like you said, with your wife's, how it being a boys' movie, it'd be interesting to hear a woman's side of all that. It'd be interesting. I Peter Billingsley, who plays Ralphie, they made a sequel to this like recently, like a year ago.
It came out last year. I
Yeah,
want to say.
did you watch it?
Yeah, I did not.
Neither have I. I mean,
I don't-
obviously, since I haven't seen this.
I like don't want to ruin this movie, so I don't know if
wonder-
it's worth
yeah.
watching the sequel or not. But
Wonder if it's any good. But I kind of like looked into some bit on him, and in 2012 they made a staged musical adaptation of the movie on Broadway, and he was one of the co-producers, which is pretty cool. And then he also produced movies, and I didn't know that. Like, he did The Breakup with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn, which is a good movie.
Oh, okay.
He did Four Christmases, with Vince Vaughn, and then this one surprised me. He executively produced Iron Man.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I was shocked when I read that. So, yeah, it's good for him. I mean, it's a great movie.
Yeah, that's cool.
The final scene of the film is great, where they go to the Chinese restaurant. And it's it used to be like a bowling alley, and it was bowling, but they got rid of the W, and now it's bowlings, which is hilarious. So apparently, the director wanted to get a real reaction from Melinda Dillon, the mom, and she was the only cast member who was purposely given the wrong script and had no idea that roasted duck would be brought out by the waiters, and it would still have its head attached. And Dylan was surprised upon seeing it and genuinely startled when they cut the head off of the duck, which is hilarious. But I mean, I can relate to going to Chinese food on Christmas. I mean, I'm half Jewish, and I would tend to go to Chinese food get Chinese food on dinner, and then that's probably one of the reasons I never really watched this movie a lot growing up, or like never watched it period growing up. It just, I don't know, it wasn't in my wheelhouse, I feel like. But I'm glad I watched it. It was entertaining. I don't know if I'll watch it every Christmas personally, but and it's coming. I know we keep teasing it. Die Hard's my Christmas movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd recommend it. I'd be interested to see how many people think this is like a classic movie, or if they don't like it, or if they watch it every Christmas. I'd be interested to hear that from our listeners.
Yeah. I mean, I consider it a Christmas classic. I know a lot of people have it in their like rotation of movies that they watch in December. Or if you're a heathen, you start before Thanksgiving. like some people. But yeah, I mean, it's a great movie. I don't watch it outside of Christmas. I don't see a reason to.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's the rewatch value is Christmas only.
Yeah, which I think is
Makes
like
sense.
the same for Christmas Vacation.
Or Planes, Trains.
Or yeah, Planes, Trains is not like you don't watch it in the spring.
Yeah.
Or like on the 4th of July. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Their wintry settings help set the Christmas mood.
Right.
So,
yeah.
For sure. So
One thing that I thought was interesting, I had always watched this on TV, or I think we had it on VHS. So like, I streamed it, on HBO, I think is what it's on. And like actual like picture quality is still kind of crappy. I mean, it seems to be something with like the actual film that they used. I don't know if you noticed, but like for 83, I feel like it should be better quality unless the budget was particularly low. And
yeah, could be because of that. But yeah, I mean, I watched it on HBO Max as well. It was in 4K UHD. But I remember seeing like some scenes I was like, this looks pretty good. Some scenes I'm like, this looks awful.
yeah,
I definitely remember that. Yeah, the
it's
quality
just like
varied.
grainy and like gritty kind of looking.
Yeah,
Almost like, but it could have also been on purpose. I don't know. Because it kind of looks like early color movies in like a lot of ways, where it's like
well,
that like early like Technicolor kind of thing, where it's not like super. It's not very vibrant. It's not very like crisp. You know.
yeah. Well, it could be that way because it takes place in around the 40s,
Right.
and it's around the time of Wizard of Oz, which was one of the first color movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's on 4K Blu-ray. It's got an insane rating. It's got a 5-star out of 5-star for video quality. And just looking at the thumbnail of it on the picture, the quality looks awesome on this thumbnail. So I wonder if it's just the streaming 4K, file, if you will.
Yeah.
So I bet that's maybe why.
Unless it's meant to look that way. If they like used like filters and stuff to make it nostalgic looking or whatever,
It's possible, especially like I said, because of the time frame. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's worth a watch. I'd watch it again for sure. So, yeah. What are we doing next week? What do we got next week? Is it time?
It might be actually.
I think it's time next week.
Okay.
Oh, Gremlins is next.
Gremlins is next.
Yeah, Gremlins. Gremlins will be a great next one. Because I've never
Die Hard.
I've never seen that. Then Die Hard. It's coming. We promise.
Yeah,
it's coming.
Die Hard's gonna come out the week before Christmas.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Stay tuned.
That one's gonna be an hour and a half long, so buckle up.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long one, I'm sure. So, well, thanks for listening to this one. We hope you guys are enjoying your holiday season so far, and hope you enjoyed this podcast. And like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think.
Yep. See you next week.